Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Let's begin with the great invocation. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, put all your worries outside, and imagine the light and the love and the power of the Holy Ones coming onto us today, guiding us for the rest of this year, inspiring us, and charging us. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Today we are going to talk about the three kings. And I will look at the three kings who came to see the Christ child, and also talk about the symbolism of the three kings as they are welcomed into our life as we are born into our soul consciousness. This is an important story, and it is commemorated in many churches as the Christmas day. For example, in the Armenian church, it's January 6th or 7th, Greek churches and other churches. And many other religious institutions call this the day of Epiphany, or the day of Theophany, and is celebrated as a holy day even, or as a feast day, part of the 12 days of Christmas. Originally, we are told, and historically, all the churches celebrated on the 6th of January until the 4th century, and they standardized it to be on the 25th. So we have this period, which is really a holy feast days for all the spiritual, religiously Christian-oriented nations and churches. Epiphany means an illuminating discovery. An illuminating discovery. And as I say these words, think in your heart, what is the illuminating discovery that you want to make in your life this year? I really wanted to open this year with this lecture. What is the illuminating discovery or the illuminating realization that you are going to sincerely find this year? What is the illuminating disclosure even? That's the meaning of many of the meanings of Epiphany. That illuminating discovery, illuminating realization, illuminating disclosure that we affirm and find in our lives. So keep that in your mind. Theophany means a divine being or God is manifested in humanity. a manifestation of deity in material form. Can that happen to us? Yes. Can we manifest our holiness, our soul, in daily manifestation? The teachings tell us yes. It's called the birth of the human soul. So look at these words and the celebration as something that applies in a holistic way to everyone in the world and as to us individuals. The story of the three magi is a commemoration, an acknowledgement that a divine being has manifested. Okay? Keep this in mind. How does our divine soul manifest in our life? Now, I will read a story told by Master Moria in Helena Rorick's On Eastern Crossroads. You can look at that, pages 37 to 40. I love the story. I want to read it for us and just look at what he's saying, and then I'll take it from there. What star was it that guided the Magi? Now, Magi are masters, initiates. Of course, it was the command of the Brotherhood. There you are, that's a start. They didn't just get on camels and start driving all the way to the Middle East from Persia. That's thousands and thousands and months of travel. So they had a command from the Brotherhood of Hierarchy. It was a psychic command to them. And the command was to hail Jesus, welcome him, to safeguard and bring some means to the poor family. So all of a sudden, the great ones are telling these three masters of wisdom, go and do this work. You're important. Your psychic protection is important for this event. And he continues, we walked over the face of the earth, not knowing the exact spot. So what do? They obeyed. They obeyed the command. The commands of the teraphim, these are slow GPS little mechanisms that guided them. So it's a psychic device. Whatever that teraphim looked like, some say it was wood, it was some kind of a psychic stone maybe, we don't know, but the hierarchy would speak through it. Wow. So the commands of the teraphim directed or led us from day to day. So they're in constant contact. Now look, if you want your soul to be born, you have to be in constant contact with the message of the great ones. Okay, you can't lose that contact. So they're listening. When we heard, it is near. And at that moment, we had lost all signs of habitation. Does that sound familiar? That at the point where something important is going to happen to you, you are found in the wilderness. Physically, emotionally, mentally, you're distraught. There's nothing around you to guide you the way. This happens to all of us. And this is a quintessential story of the path of the human soul, of discipleship. Could one expect a miracle of so unprecedented an enunciation in the midst of camel dung and the braying of donkeys? Imagine what camel dung and braying of donkeys means in our life. The naysayers, the negativity, the hatred. No, you can't do this, too much. Our own bodies say that to us. And this is the symbolism. You could see it, you can hear it, right? Okay. Human thought attempted to locate the future prophet perhaps near a temple, or at least majestic walls. Wow, we're disciples, so we want accolades. We want majesty to come to us. We want the trumpets to sing and the choirs to say hallelujah. We have made it as disciples. That's not the way it is. We expect it in our mental body. That's not the way it is. Isn't that interesting? When we received the command to halt, what do? They listened. They halted at a humble inn in a low-ceilinged house With clay walls, we stopped for the night. Now, these are kings, masters of wisdom, initiates. They're in a humble dwelling. Will we find ourselves in that humble humiliation in the middle of nowhere? And we're supposed to give birth to our human soul? We say, give me a break already. A fire and a small oil lamp filled the room with a red glow. Here's a sign. After our meal, we noticed that a servant poured out the remains of the milk in a separate container. We said to her, it is not right to save it, because it's probably gone bad. And they said, but, she said, it is not for thee. It's for a poor woman. Behind the wall lives a carpenter. Recently, a son was born to him. Aha. Extinguishing the fire, we laid on our hands and asked, whither shall we go further? Shall we go further? What is this all about? Look what they did. They turn all the lights off. They lay on their hands, and they're thinking, what next? We will find ourselves in that dark, dark moment, and we will ask that question, where next? Came the answer. The difference that they're exhibiting is they're listening. They're listening. The answer came nearer than the nearest. It's closer than you think. Lower than the lowest. Higher than the highest. In other words, don't give it your mental and your usual description of where you're going to find this prophet. Not understanding the meaning, we besought a command. Don't we say that? I don't get that, Lord. Can you give me another command? We ask that all the time, but we were told, let your ears listen. Let your ears hearken, listen. And as we sat in the darkness in silence, yes, I have found myself in darkness and silence, and so have you. And if you listened, we heard how somewhere beyond the wall a child had begun to cry. A sound came forth. We began to mark the direction of the cry, and we heard the mother's song, so often heard in the homes of husbandsmen. And she said, let people think of you as a plower, as a simple gardener, but I know, my son, thou art a king. Who, save thee, shall raise the best seed, the most fruitful? The Lord shall call my little one and say, thy seed alone has glorified my feast. Sit with me, king of the worthiest seed. Mama knows. So the mama in you is going to know that moment, okay? Mama knows. And as we heard this song, 3 knocks resounded in the ceiling. That was another sign. Go, boys, go. In the morning, they said, we shall go there. And look what they did. Before dawn, before the light even started, they got up and they put on their finest garments and asked the servant, please tell us where to go in the direction of the cry. And she said, the Lord wishes to visit the family of the carpenter. I'd better lead you around, for here one must pass through the cattle fold. Before the kings can come into our life, there might be some messy situations. Okay? Recalling the command, keep going. We chose the shortest way. This is so important, recalling the command of your soul. Recall it. At moments when it's dark, there's no light yet. You have to go through cattle dung. Yeah. Recall the command. And they went. And then what did they do? Chose the shortest way. What is the shortest way for us? Sit down and do your meditation. Read. Focus. Make a decision. Use your power. They obeyed the command. Here behind the manger was a tiny dwelling leaning against a rock. That's interesting, against a rock. Okay? The soul is a rock. Here by the hearth was a woman, and her arms he. What signs accompaniment? And they looked. He stretched out his hand, and on the palm was a red sign. They already saw the sign. Upon this sign we placed the most precious pearl of those we brought. We see that they brought gold, and here they said pearls and jewels and frankincense. These are all symbolic. The precious pearl. In one of the stories of Buddha, a little girl comes and she goes through the gate, and all the helpers of Buddha are standing around and saying, "Who are you to want to see the Buddha?" She says, "I want to see him. I want initiation." And they say, "No way, you're just a kid." She says, "Let me in." So they let her in, and the Buddha says, "What do you want?" She says, "I want to be initiated." "What are you going to give for it?" She opens her hand and gives him the pearl of her life. All her accumulated wisdom through all that irritation that the pearl grows into. And she gave it, and she became, we are told, instantly an arhat. Right? That's such a beautiful story. It's the same thing here. They placed the pearl, they gave right there. They gave an initiation, said, "We acknowledge you." Bestowing the treasure, then the sacred objects, we warned the mother of the need for wanderings, and at once we turned back, crossing the same manger. Wow. So the masters of wisdom are saying to the mom, to us, there's going to be some wanderings. It's not going to be a piece of cake. Be ready. Because sometimes we think, we had a great dream, we had a great meditation, we read a beautiful book, wow, done. That's not it. There's going to be some wanderings. And behind us the mother says, "See, my little one, you are the king. And put this diamond upon the forehead of thy steed." Wear that diamond. Wear it. Okay? Wear it. And we know the story of how Jesus the Christ wore that diamond, of his brilliance, of his beauty, no matter what happened in his life. We departed bearing in mind the sign of the red star upon the palm, and also had been said, "Remember the day of the red star upon the forehead of the warrior." Now, what a story. Is that a great story? I love it. I never get tired of listening to it or hearing it or reading it. It is so much. There's so much meaning in it. But let's stretch out the story a little bit historically. I was reading the travels of Marco Polo, and what did I come to? We read a fascinating story that when he was traveling through Central Asia, and he was in present-day Iran, which was Persia at the time, 1271 to 1295 AD, there was a story about 3 kings who visited the Christ child. Did you know that? So they even said that there is a place where they were buried, and these were prophets. They came from the city of fire worshipers, right? Fire worshipers. And they went to worship a prophet, and they carried gold, myrrh, and frankincense. That's a story. They went to, this is told in the story, to ascertain whether the prophet was God, an earthly king, or a physician. They discovered he was all 3. All 3. The story of kings visiting an externalized divine being exists in many spiritual traditions. Let me stretch that out a little bit more. In the book that we have in our library called Bible Myths and Their Parallels in Other Religions by T.W. Doan, he says that there are many stories of great prophets and even shepherds appearing at the birth of a holy one. In fact, he writes that shepherds and wise men story is borrowed from Egyptians. And look, he shows how prophets, wise men, initiates, masters, rishis all visit the birth of a great teacher, and they affirm that birth. It is almost like a recognition For example, Krishna was visited, adored by wise men, and gifts were given to him. When we give a gift to someone we truly love and cherish, we give really nice gifts, don't we? It's well thought out. It's nice gifts. That's what they're doing. Buddha was visited at birth by rishis who recognized the infant's celestial origins. And they brought gifts including incense and jewels. Interesting, it's always some kind of incense and jewels. Rama was widely worshipped as a Hindu deity, and he was visited and gifts were given to him, affirmed as divine. Confucius, the same thing. So the great ones affirmed, acknowledged, and brought under the watchful eyes of the masters and initiates, who are called kings, rishis, and wise men. And the visitors are always said to bring gifts, symbolic gifts, gold, jewels, diamonds, to support wealth, and also to give the best of what they have to that new prophet. It shows respect when we give something of great value. Incense is really interesting. As I read about it, it signifies holiness, priesthood, prophet status, because everybody couldn't use incense. Incense is used during rituals and ceremonies and blessings. And as I did more research, incense of old, such as myrrh and frankincense, had medicinal qualities to reduce swelling, inflammation, pain, and infections in both Chinese and Indian medicine, probably in Egyptian as well. These gifts also may be magnetized to link hierarchy of the great ones and initiates to the new prophet, so that as that child, that soul grows, he or she is protected and is always linked to the wisdom of the great ones. Now, this brings us to the esoteric meaning of kings and initiates, which is really important for us. Great beings are born into humanity. That's number one, and we see that in all of human history. They are confirmed by initiates. It is not a matter of advertising or making claims or posturing or pretending. I can't and you can't get up and say, I'm now an initiate. We have to prove it. You see, somebody else confirms, gives that first initiation. A confirmation takes place. There's no pretense. There's no social media that puts us all of a sudden into initiate status. This is a repeated process in the history of humanity. How does this apply to us as we struggle every day? We meditate, we pray, we adjust our lives, and then what next? I believe that we can apply this process of birth, confirmation, and taking on greater responsibilities as part of the process of initiation. The three kings in any story, or three initiates, or three masters, are all indicated to us in the Trinity of the Creator. Always, for a creative expression that is soul-powered to take birth, three elements have to be present, always. These three elements have many, many names, and each one represents a power that is necessary for the creative process. For example, they're expressed as God the Father, power, force. So one of the masters is representing God the Father, that power, the masculinity. Represent as Holy Spirit, the mother, the receptive part of our life. Son, the resulting creation. So that's just one. How about we see the Trinity of light, representing truth and clarity, love, representing unity, compassion, and healing, power, representing direction, focus, godly purpose. What about if we look at the Trinity as beauty, goodness, and truth? Beauty representing power, Did you ever think that beauty and God are one? Their power, that perfection? It's amazing. Goodness representing the loving energy of goodwill, and truth representing clarity, purity, and light. In esoteric wisdom, we also see the Trinity in the three major rays. The first ray, power, the driver, the purpose. Again, second ray, love, compassion, love in action. The third ray, power to make actualize, to plant in the soil, to bring up, to articulate what life has been in the higher worlds, to bring it down into earth. Let me go on to one more. It also refers to the three initiations. When they're combined, they become the first major initiation. The first initiation is overcoming our physical elementals. Second initiation represents the overcoming and mastery of our emotional elemental. And the third initiation, overcoming and mastering our mental elemental. There's also three centers, head, heart, and throat. There are three ashrams. There's also the sun, the physical sun, the heart of the sun, the central spiritual sun. So we can see that any of these meanings need to be articulated in our life. They will be visited to us. They'll come to us as our soul grows and evolves and takes birth. What does this mean in our life? We can, in our own lives, rise above the current condition. And when we do, when we take steps for the direction of spiritual focus, the three powers will be released and activated in our life to some degree. These are the three kings. So throughout this year, look for those three kings, how we invite them into our life, into our group, into our work. Our life is mostly focused in our mundane desires and habits. They are populated by glamours and illusions and unreality. And we have no willpower, or we have partially applied willpower. But the life of discipleship, the life of a spiritually committed person, is to live a life where our human soul is born. And when that takes place, we will see how the three kings emerge in our life and change our life. Truth will come. We will hold ourselves accountable. We will not lie to ourselves anymore. That's so important. We will see deeper and deeper clarity. The second king will come to us and say, goodness, love, and compassion is the way for you to express yourself in anything. The third king will come to us and will give us direction. Where is our soul going? In a steady process, what is the direction that our soul is going? So these three kings are us. They're part of us. We have these in us. We have the three centers. We have the three powers. We can connect to hierarchy, humanity, and Shambhala. Look at that. Go through your mind and look at how many ways these three kings show in our life. When we do the right thing, we know it. A focus comes into us. A power comes into us. A new clarity comes into us. A new beauty comes into us. And we know we have been visited by three kings. Our beauty increases. Our direction is focused. And our love can't be compromised. How do we build enough power in us to keep us in the right direction and keep these three kings in us? These are my insights. I'll share them with you. I've practiced these and I see how they make a difference in my life. I'm not 100% in the presence of three kings all the time, but we keep trying, don't we? So the first one, have a regularly scheduled time of inner retreat. It's so important. Whether it's once a week or once a month, have that time for yourself as an inner retreat. This needs to be your time. Your time. Have regularly scheduled times of prayer, reading, and thinking about holy things. Learn the process of seed thought meditation. I can't emphasize this enough, that in all the work that I've done, seed thought meditation is the best mental and soul growing discipline I know of. If you want to learn more, let me know and I can help you. And I find that if you can go up slowly to 3 times a week, then the momentum starts building. It doesn't have to be more than 10, 15 minutes at a time. Honest, this works. So this is really important. So these are the 3 major. But I also thought that we need to care for our physical vehicle. If we don't exercise, if we don't take care of our physical body, it can't hold us. It can't carry us. It's so important. Do your best to take care of your physical vehicle. Why? Because spiritual process cannot be sustained if we don't have the energy in our physical vehicle. As we get older, we'll start getting sick and unable. So keep that physical vehicle as best as you can, whatever you need to do. And this is my take on spiritual practice. Focus on one key spiritual work. One key spiritual work. When you focus, you will see how your mind will expand. And as our mind expands, the first king of light and clarity will come. People think doing various spiritual practices is good. The more, the better. It is not. It is not. If you learn to focus and expand in one practice, you will see how your mind will expand and your spiritual depth and understanding of many disciplines will expand. If you go deep into one religious thought, you will understand all the religions because the foundation is the same. Our human soul is universal. Once awakened, we will naturally understand the many spiritual dimensions. Does that make sense to you? I recommend in the new year that we strive to give birth to our soul. Clear out our emotions of toxic feelings. Christ is in us. Our soul is our inner Christ. To give birth to our soul, we can focus, remove or lessen our glamours and deceptions, our fabrications. We can express love. We can conquer continuously by striving and improving. Okay? We read in Teachings of Christ, Volume 1, page 26, the following beautiful paragraph. The spark in us must be born. That's why we try so hard to be creative and express, because we're trying to give birth to the spark, the soul in us. And heaven and earth are working together just to fulfill this greatest miracle. Don't you love that? Which is the birth of the inner Christ. Year by year, at every Christmas, the inner spark slowly must come and reveal itself as your true self, as your soul. Consider that the symbology is giving us a great guidance. We can be born as souls, and we do so when we feel there is no hope, no way out. The Christ soul is born on that very dark night. Sometimes, all of us, when that dark night comes, we just want to throw in the towel. But that's when the soul can come through, if we can help each other. As a group, pray for each other, send light to each other, love each other. You can do it. When we find ourselves in those dark periods of physical stress, emotional upset, mental fatigue, loss of loved ones, go deep into the depth of your soul. Christ is there in you. Let it emerge slowly. Let it be born. Through tears and agony, let it be born. When we make the effort of birth, then the three kings of light, love, and power will bloom in our life. I really believe that. I've seen it happen. So you can see that there is no quick and easy, breezy, joyful way. When you find yourself in the darkness, the three kings are on the way. They've already heard the command of the brotherhood. Isn't that beautiful? They've heard it. Let's help these people. All we have to do is invite them in our life. Look what Torkham writes on page 31, same book, Teachings of Christ, Volume 1. Now, what is our purpose? I love this because the teaching should be very practical, something we can touch, right? Something we can work with. Our purpose in this group is nothing else but to bring our inner glory out. Whether we do it with words, with music, with beauty, with whatever we do, bring out that inner glory so that we live among the people as a shining light, a life giver, a joy giver, a power giver. And as people of light and life and joy and power givers increase, it will increase in the world. When you shake hands and look and speak, people are feeling that life is coming. Life is coming. The three kings are coming. This depends on the degree that you are born. 5%, 30%, 50%, or 100%. If you are born 100%, you are a son or daughter of God. Consciously. We all are. But there are conscious and unconscious sons and daughters of God. I have great trust that we will work very hard to bring that realization into life in 1 year's time with the help of God. Isn't that beautiful? We have a whole year. And this whole year, what are we going to do? Talk about joy and teachings of Christ. Look at it from different angles because we want to invite the three kings into our center, into our group, into our individual lives and family lives. We want those three kings to come. We did so much, unexpectedly much. Believe me, we saw not only the outer success, but also the inner success. Of course, I am really seeing that each of you, members and friends, are becoming more beautiful in your relationships and forgiveness in your soul response. So he's seeing, this great teacher is seeing the birth of the soul that's coming. You are getting less personality reaction and more soul reaction. That is the sign of birth. That is the sign that our spiritual mommy is having labor. That pain and misery we feel is that birth. We're giving birth now, and we are going to be born, but how soon? We do not know. It is so beautiful. So we are going to love the birth process, just like we do when a child is born in our families. We all celebrate. We want pictures. We Google at the baby. We, squeeze and love and hold. Same thing for us. In the story of the three kings, we see a natural event that takes place every time a great soul incarnates into world service. We also see a natural occurrence that when we give birth to our soul, we will have three kings acknowledging our high spiritual status. Don't think of yourself as having no spiritual status. You do. Okay? You do. You will expand the truth that you have, the light and the clarity that you have. You will expand the love and compassion that you have to spread a little bit further out. You will expand the power and the divine direction that you have. Why? Because of one thing. One thing. Cosmos is in us. We are cosmos. Every effort we make in these three powers sends a command of response, of resonance from the higher worlds. Are you tying that together with we heard the command? Okay. There's resonance. Every time we do something beautiful, good, and righteous, a resonance happens with other people, with other groups, with hierarchy, with Shambhala. There's constant resonance. So when we do the spiritual practice and the meditation that we will do today, remember that all we're doing is building the vehicle of resonance. Does that make sense? The vehicle of resonance. So that we are hearing and we are responding to that command, and eventually we will be the kings as we give nurture to other people, as we give love to other people, as we give power and direction. You're going to be okay to other people, right? Okay? So we are seeing that king symbol, three kings symbol, in many, many ways. And it's so beautiful that all the spiritual traditions of humanity have this story. Isn't that beautiful? Are you ready for a little meditation? Okay. We are going to do this beautiful meditation in part. This is called Sunrise Worship. It is taken from the book Transformation, chapter 7. Let's do it because it really lets us focus on the three suns: the physical sun, the heart of the sun, and the central spiritual sun. Take a deep breath and relax. See yourself as a beautiful light, warm and golden, contained in your beautiful body. And just see that there is this beautiful, huge physical sun out there. There's the heart of the sun behind it. There's the central spiritual sun behind that. And repeat after me, nice and slow. First, the physical sun. I call upon thee, O living God. Radiant and illuminating fire. O unseen parent of the sun. Pour forth thy light-giving power and energize thy divine spark. Repeat after me. Enter into this flame and let it be activated with the breath of thy Holy Spirit. Manifest thy power and open for me the temple of Almighty God, which is within this fire. Manifest thy light for my regeneration. And let the breath, fullness, height, and crown of the solar radiance appear, and may God within shine forth. Om.